Dylan Wang looks panicked. Shen Yue rushed to the hospital after her honeymoon. What if I told you that the fairy tale honeymoon that fans had celebrated just weeks ago, the one filled with laughter, sunlight, and whispered vows, ended in flashing sirens, midnight calls, and the sound of Dylan Wang's voice breaking on the edge of fear? What if I told you that behind the smiles, behind the perfect wedding photos, there was a story no one expected, a story that reminded the world that even the brightest love can face the darkest night? Because this time, it wasn't a drama. This time, it was real. And the world watched, holding its breath, as Dylan Wang's calm composure shattered before the cameras. Hold on tight, K-drama family. The world of your favorite celebrities is unfolding before your eyes, and every moment is more breathtaking than the last. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications right now, because trust me, you do not want to miss what's coming next. The beautiful beginning just 2 weeks earlier, Dylan Wang and Shen Yue were the definition of happiness. Their secret ceremony in Bali had become the most talked about celebrity wedding of the year, intimate, soft, and cinematic, attended only by close friends and family. The photos were breathtaking. Her white gown, delicate and flowing like a whisper of the sea. His quiet smile as he lifted her veil, eyes trembling with emotion. Fans flooded social media with captions like, "This is what real love looks like." From meteor garden to marriage, fate was always leading them here. They left for their honeymoon in Greece soon after, and for a while, everything seemed perfect. They were seen walking through Santorini hand in hand, her laughter echoing down the narrow white streets, his arm protectively around her waist. No paparazzi. No pretense. Just peace. Until the night everything changed. The emergency had happened during their final days abroad. According to eyewitnesses, Shen Yue had complained of exhaustion and dizziness after dinner. At first, everyone thought it was just fatigue, the travel, the time difference, maybe even the emotional rush of it all. But around midnight, she suddenly collapsed. Hotel staff said Dylan's reaction was instant, no hesitation, no shock. Just fear. Pure, raw fear. He reportedly shouted for help, lifted her in his arms, and rushed her to the nearest private hospital. Security footage later confirmed the scene, Dylan, still in his honeymoon clothes, cradling Shen Yue tightly against his chest as paramedics guided him inside. Her hand was limp. His eyes were wet. And in that moment, the man who had captured millions of hearts on screen was no longer the confident celebrity, he was just a husband praying not to lose the woman he loved. The silence that followed for almost 48 hours, there was no news. No updates from the couple, no official statements, no photos. Fans began to panic. Rumors spread across Weibo and Twitter, fainting spells, dehydration, even speculation of something far more serious. But those who saw Dylan at the hospital said it all. One nurse later shared anonymously, he never left her side. He refused to sit down. He just held her hand and kept whispering her name. Another witness described how, at one point, Dylan stepped out briefly, his face pale, his eyes red, and when someone asked if he was all right, he simply said, "She has to be." That's when the media frenzy exploded. Paparazzi outside the hospital caught him emerging with his head down, his mask on, but tears visible beneath it. Those photos became the most shared images online overnight. The caption on one post read, "Even stars break when it's someone they can't live without." The official update finally, on the third day, their agency released a brief statement. Shen Yue experienced a sudden health scare during her honeymoon trip due to exhaustion and low blood pressure. She is now stable and recovering under medical supervision. Dylan Wang remains with her. It was meant to calm the public. But fans saw what the statement didn't say, that she was still hospitalized, and that Dylan had postponed all his upcoming projects indefinitely. A reporter stationed outside the hospital confirmed that Dylan personally requested no visitors and minimal staff disturbance. He was seen bringing her flowers every morning, adjusting her blanket himself, even sleeping in the waiting room instead of returning to the hotel. To the world, it became the image of devotion. To him, it was simply love. The hidden details days later, more details began to emerge from close friends. Sources revealed that Shen Yue had been under immense physical and emotional stress before the wedding, balancing filming, endorsements, and preparations almost non-stop for months. Dylan had reportedly told her several times to rest, but she kept pushing through, wanting their wedding to be perfect. A stylist close to the couple said softly she wanted to give him everything, the ceremony, the smiles, the memories. But she forgot to take care of herself. When Dylan found out that her collapse had been caused by severe exhaustion and dehydration, he reportedly broke down in the hallway, whispering, "This is my fault. I should have stopped her." The moment that melted hearts. After nearly a week, hospital staff shared one quiet moment that touched everyone. Shen Yue had finally regained strength. As she opened her eyes and saw him asleep beside her bed, his hands still clutching hers, she whispered, barely audible, "You didn't leave?" He woke instantly, his voice trembling, "I told you, I'd never leave again." She smiled weakly, tears slipping down her cheek, and said, "Then you'd better keep that promise." He leaned forward, pressed her hand to his lips, and nodded. The nurse who witnessed it said she had to turn away, because it didn't feel like a moment for cameras. It felt sacred. The world reacts when Shen Yue was discharged, the world cheered. Fans flooded social media with messages of relief and love, "Stay strong, Shen Yue. Rest well." Dylan's loyalty proves real love still exists. They just went through their first real test, and they came out stronger. Their return to China was quiet, no red carpet, no media. Just a private flight, her hand in his, both of them wrapped in coats, trying to slip past the noise. But someone captured one photo that went viral instantly, Dylan gently tucking her hair behind her ear as they entered their car. The caption read, "Protecting her, even when no one's watching." The aftermath. Weeks later, Dylan returned to filming, but fans noticed something different. He was quieter, gentler, more thoughtful. He no longer rushed through interviews. He spoke about gratitude, about slowing down, about what truly matters. And when asked during one press conference what his biggest fear was, he smiled faintly and said, "Losing what I love because I was too busy to notice it." Shen Yue, now fully recovered, also addressed her fans during a live broadcast. Her voice was calm, her tone full of warmth. "That time in the hospital reminded me of something important. We chase perfection, but it's love that keeps us alive. Dylan taught me that." The comments section filled instantly with tears and hearts, not the kind you see in fictional scripts, but the kind that come from witnessing something real. The legacy of that night and the months that followed, Dylan and Shen Yue became symbols of devotion in the entertainment world. Not because they were perfect, but because they showed vulnerability. Because they reminded everyone that fame, beauty, and success mean nothing when the person you love is hurting. Their story became one of resilience. Of two people who built their dreams together, and nearly lost it all, only to rediscover what truly mattered. And whenever Dylan is asked about that terrifying night, he simply replies, "It was the worst night of my life. But it showed me how much she means to me." Sometimes love doesn't show itself in the happy moments. It shows itself in fear, and the will to never lose what you've found. The final image. One evening, weeks after everything had settled, Shen Yue posted a photo that silenced the internet once more. It was a sunset over the ocean, soft, golden, endless. And in the corner of the frame, Dylan's hand held hers. Her caption read only 3 words, "We're still here." And for millions across Asia, those words meant everything. Because after all the lights fade, after the noise dies down, and after the storms pass, the truest love stories are the ones that survive. The legacy. Since that incident, fans across Asia began referring to their story as the Night of Promise. It became a symbol, not of tragedy, but of triumph. Of two souls who nearly lost each other. And found something even greater, gratitude. In interviews, Dylan often says that night changed how he sees fame, love, and success. "I used to think love was about romance," he confessed. "Now I know it's about endurance." And Shen Yue? She simply smiles and says, "Sometimes, the scariest moments lead you home." The final scene. A few weeks ago, a video surfaced from a quiet fan encounter at an airport. Dylan was pushing Shen Yue's luggage, walking slowly beside her. A fan called out jokingly, "You still carry her bags?" He turned, smiled shyly, and said, "Always." And in that single word, after the sirens, the sleepless nights, the tears and prayers, the world heard everything. Because the truest stories don't end with happily ever after. They end with two people who still choose each other, even after the storm.